Agency in Motion continuing series. Today's episode centers around helping agents get ahead in such a competitive world, competitive industries. What is that checklist? What do we need to have in place on a daily basis to get ahead? We need to start by understanding the bell curve of where typical performers may end up. You have your high performers, your top 20% usually, and that's coupled on the other side with the bottom 20% that are classified as low performers. And you got this great number of agents or salespeople stuck in the middle that we classify as average performers. So, which are we? Which do we want to be, whether we're working as an individual or whether we're building offices or sales teams? We need to understand how to take a low or average performer and help them get to that high performance standards. So what do high performers have in place that average and low performers don't have? Here's the checklist. First of all, high performers know exactly where their leads are coming from. Now, that doesn't mean that all of these high performers have complex online marketing funnels in place. It could be anything down to a cold call, but they know exactly what they need to do to manufacture the number of leads that they need to get to have the exact number of appointments to make the type of income that they're looking for that places them as a top performer. So the lead generation as a top performer, it's always there. They know where their leads are coming from versus the bottom are the average performers that kind of drift into lead generation, kind of hoping things are going to materialize for them. Next up is top performers execute every single day. Now, sometimes top performers spend less hours working than average or bottom performers, but the difference is the hours that they are working, they are dialed in, they're executing, they come ready to work, and they execute their plan of action on a daily basis. Top performers also know when it's time to work, they're there not to make friends, they're there to make money. They're there to close sales. If you've got a product or service that you believe in, then you go after this and you make sure that your mindset is one of, I'm closing sales, I'm making money, I'm doing what I need to do to remain a top performer. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not nice or cordial with their prospects. It just means they get down to business. Next, they know how to establish authority. This means that the other person on the other side of that meeting or that phone is understanding why that top performer is the person they should be speaking to that can help solve their issue or bring solutions to the problems that they currently have. Whereas the average and the bottom performers don't really know how to establish authority. And that's one of the key things in bringing a prospect to a buying decision, is to make sure they understand you are the right person to talk to help solve their problem. Top performers know how to be assertive but not aggressive. And this is a fine line that we have to walk, but top performers know what they're doing, they're confident in what they're doing, and they're leading that other side versus being led. Now, that comes, like I said, with a fine line, because the other side of that is being pushy and aggressive. So we need to be confident and assertive. We need to lead the conversation, the meeting, but not be pushy and aggressive. Top performers know how to do that. Generally, bottom and average performers do not. Top performers know how to, from the very start of the conversation, how to start disqualifying people. Whereas the average and bottom performers, they try to pre-qualify and qualify everybody they possibly can. And top performers are very good at, once that disqualification is known, to get rid of that prospect. If it's early on in the conversation, they have no problem going ahead and letting go of that conversation, that prospect, because they've been disqualified. Disqualification, by doing that, you're actually qualifying people for what you're looking for, but the ability and the skill of being able to disqualify people creates the ability to be better at time management, and then spend the time with people who are actually falling into your persona, who make that right fit, right candidate for what you're selling. Top performers are obsessed with the next step. This is one of the most important ones in my opinion, because a lot of average and bottom performers, they'll leave things to chance. They'll end a phone call or end a meeting with no clear next step. Top performers are always leading the conversation, leading the meeting, and ending with a concrete next step, whether that's an additional meeting, whether that's a follow-up phone call, a cart checkout, whatever it might be. The next step is always laid out when framing the conversation, and the end point is leading to a continuation to the next action step. Top performers know they don't get caught up with emotions. This is a game. Statistically speaking, top performers understand if they do what they're supposed to do, then everything will revert back to the mean in terms of both, won sales, lost sales, abandoned sales, whatever it might be. They don't get too emotional about any one lost sale. They don't get too high. They don't get too low. They just know if they execute, things will fall into line, where the average and bottom performers tend to get more emotional about things, and that has a negative consequence and ripple effect on your business. Top performers, they know how to enjoy what they're doing. They enjoy the process of getting better. They enjoy the process of speaking with potential clients, converting them into clients, making the sales, getting the revenue, income recognition. They enjoy what they do. Average and bottom performers tend to be more stressed out, and they tend to be less enthusiastic about what they're doing because of their poor results, and that compounds and manifests on top of itself. And lastly, top performers, they're not there to compete. They're there to dominate the space. It doesn't mean they're working every single day, but the days and the hours they have dedicated to the work of being an agent, being a salesperson, they are dedicated to dominating that time. They don't want to be in the middle of the pack. They don't want to be on the lower side of the pack. They know they're a top performer, and in order to remain and stay there, they understand what has to be done on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. You want more tips on building, operating, managing agencies and sales offices in the 21st century? Agency in Motion.